welcome back everybody, and we are going to do a tomato review today. Let me back you out a little bit. I'm going to do a tomato review on this tomato right here, and this is called the Golden Jubilee. And this is all the rage these days. A lot of people love this tomato. I get a lot of positive feedback on this variety of tomato, and a lot of people like this tomato. Now, my experience is that the tomato is a good tomato as far as production. It's a pretty good producer. It produces these big boys or better boy sized tomatoes, or you could call them really large slicers. Some people call these beefsteaks. I don't consider that a beefsteak, but this would be more of a beefsteak type tomato, being beefsteaks to me would look more like that, but it's both. And so it's really a large slicer tomato, or a better boy or batter boy, whatever you want to call it. Here's a look at the inside. That's what it looks like on the inside. Yeah, a lot of people love this tomato. They really give this tomato a lot of high ratings. And so I did do a review on this sometime in the past, but we're going to revisit some of my older videos, and we're going to update them with this new videos and see what I have to say about it nowadays. So anyway, here's a better look at the standard type. This is what you should be seeing off of these plants, is standard size, this size right here. And then, of course, you're going to see ones maybe half the size quite commonly towards the end of the season. So they don't always produce tomatoes that large, but they will nevertheless produce quite a few that way earlier in the season. Again, towards the end of the season, you're usually going to get stuck with a lot of the smaller ones. So we'll get an idea on the weight on this. We'll just bring it down a little and see what that weighs. Okay, that's 6.6 ounces. See what that weighs. 6.2. And we will about 6.1. So the average size for these is going to be anywhere between 5 and 6.5 ounces for this tomato. But I have gotten some of these tomatoes that did get a little larger than what you see right here. So I have gotten some larger ones, and they can get to a good size. So what do I know about the tomato offhand? I don't really know much about it. I just know that this is a very high demand type of tomato. A lot of people highly recommend this tomato. A lot of requests for this tomato, and just that's all I know offhand. Whatever information I got, I'll put in the description. So let's go to the bricks and do a bricks on the bricks meter. You look at the side. That's what it looks like from the side. Nice and fleshy. Do a little bit of a bricks for you bricks people. Oh, that's not bad. 5.5 on the bricks, so that's a little above average. 5 is, expected. Anything below 5 is low. Anything above 5 is going to be rather sweet. And this is a big tomato to be a 5.5, so this is probably going to be a good experience. So let's give that a go. Alright, so I just got done eating that whole half of that tomato. That was a lot of work eating that half of tomato. I think it was actually pretty big and meaty. It's delicious tomato, guys. This is why this tomato gets a high rating from a lot of people, because of the very classic flavor to it for a tomato. It has this has a classic taste. Okay, so let's take a look at these numbers here. Let's just bring you down a little bit. Alright, so let's talk about the sweetness first. The sweetness was pretty good. It was definitely above average a little bit. I'm definitely going to say this was probably around a 28 on the sweetness, so it was above average but not super sweet. It was nice. It was a nice balance between that and the tangy. So we're going to say 28 in the tangy. But the tangy part was a little higher than that. We're going to say that was about 33 on the tangy, which is a nice contrast. You always want a little bit more tanginess as opposed to sweetness. It doesn't taste right when you got tomatoes that are real sweet and is low tangy. I've had tomatoes like that. They don't taste right. You're edible, they're eatable, but I like it just like this. I like a little more tanginess with a mild amount of sweetness to really deliver the package. That's exactly what this tomato does. As far as the flavor goes, now we're talking about intensity of flavor. We're not talking about what I'm rating the flavor as, but the intensity of the flavor, how dominant and how prominent was that flavor in this profile. This was pretty prominent. I was able to really pick up the whole tomato flavor all the way around my tongue, and I don't normally usually get that effect, but even underneath my tongue, as well as the top of my tongue and the back of my tongue, really was able to really encompass my full sensory when it came to taste. It really encompassed the whole thing. The tomato flavor was pretty prominent in this. So what I'm going to say on the tomato flavor, the intensity of that flavor would probably be around a 7.5. And I'd probably go a little higher, but I'm going to stick with 7.5. I think that's a good number for that. This is perfectly ripened. This tomato is absolutely perfect in stage right now for any form of culinary. You want to cook with it, you can cook with it. You want to slice it up and put it in a salad, this is where you want to be, right here. This tomato is definitely a highly recommended classic, and for the reasons I just said right over here. I mean, all these numbers are just perfect for the perfect type heirloom tomato. We're not talking about commercial tomato, we're talking about heirloom tomatoes. And this is what you want to see. This is why we grow these heirlooms. This is why we go through the trouble we go through to get our heirloom tomatoes, because of classic tomatoes like this one. Sorry to rant a little bit, but I'm a big fan of this tomato, and a lot of people are as well. So again, 7.5 on the tomato flavor. Now the moisture was perfect. We're going to go 6.5 on the moisture, even though it may have been a little moister than that, but 6.5 is the number that you need in order to get that flavor from the front part of your tongue driven to the back side of your tongue. You need that moisture. It was in there. This tomato definitely was able to deliver that package perfectly. Tardy and sour, I'd say 0.5 on a tardy, less than 1 from a scale of 1 to 10, or even 1 to 5 if you want to say. There was a little bit of tardiness there, but it was perfect. You want a little bit, and tomatoes that are just tangy with no tardy, it's kind of off a little bit. You want that little bit of a puckering, lemony type effect afterwards. If you don't get that lemony effect and it's just tangy, kind of strange. I like tomatoes that, most tomatoes that have a slight tardiness to them, and so they have that lemony type effect. So this one had a little bit of it, but not very much. Undertones, I didn't pick up any undertones, so we'll go with a 0 on the undertones. The texture was absolutely perfect. I'm going to go with a 9.5 on the texture, because the texture is classic. Guys, this right here, this texture on this tomato is absolutely perfect in every sense. The effect in your mouth, the effect when you cook with it, chop it up and put it in a salad, it holds together fine, but when you eat it, it melts in your mouth. Guys, this is it. This is the king of texture right here. That is what you want to see and feel when we're talking about texture in tomatoes. That is it. This is the highest texture rating you're probably going to ever see me give you. Is a 9.5. Doesn't get any better than that texture right there. I'll back you out a little. That texture is king right there. That is the stuff right there. Perfect as far as texture goes. Now, however, I might just bring that number down a little bit, because right now I'm combining the skins along with the texture. And so the skins were a little tough on this tomato. And I wasn't too pleased with that. I literally had to chew those skins up. So I wasn't too pleased with the skins. I might bring that down to a 9 now that I remember. The skins were a little tough. So because of that reason, I'm going to say 9. But if it wasn't for those skins, it'd be a 9.5, maybe even a little higher. The flesh and the meat on that tomato was perfect. All right, so the skins just lowered it. So we'll say 9 on the texture. Production is pretty good. I'm going to go about average with production. But keep in mind, when I talk about production, I'm not just talking about producing 10,000 tomatoes. I'm talking about producing tomatoes that are going to be fitting for your refrigerator and for your salads and your cooking. This is a fitting tomato. It's perfect, guys. No bug bites, no nothing. It's absolutely perfect. You cut. In fact, I don't even think I'm going to be able to. I was going to make sauce with this. I don't think that's happening now. These tomatoes are so good, I'm going to have to eat them raw. So I'll just get the seeds out and then eat them because they're so good. But as far as production goes, I can't really, we can't always include the quantity when it comes to the production rating, because it's also the quality of the tomatoes that are coming off of that. So if I get 10 tomatoes that give me nice tomatoes like this, I would rather have that than a plant that gave me 150 tomatoes that are like, you know, not so good, right? We want that classic look. This is what we strive for right here. Get off of there. So that's it. You know, that production level, I'm definitely going to give it, you know, I'm going to go 5, maybe even go a little higher. Probably go 5.5 if you want, because the tomatoes are so, the tomatoes coming off of here are so nice. They're such nice tomatoes. And I'm getting about the average yield, which is about a dozen, maybe 15 tomatoes like what you see here. Some of the other ones might be a little smaller, it's hard to say, but it's still putting out tomatoes. It's still got flowers on it. It's getting ready to put out another harvest. And, you know, so maybe I'll get another batch of those. That might change my rating a little bit. So how do I rate this tomato from a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the highest? I would put this tomato at about a 1.5, guys. This is absolutely a tomato collector's tomato. This is the type of tomato you want to be able to grow randomly throughout the years as you grow in your garden. You want a good variety to grow, and this is one of the tomatoes you would want to do it with because of the type of tomato it is, guys. First of all, it's not your classic red. It's a beautiful sunset orange. Okay, get off of there. It's a beautiful sunset orange. They make these good size. I mean, look at this, guys. This is a nice size tomato. Come on, that's a whole salad for 2 people there. And the same thing with this. Look at the inside of that. These are the kind of tomatoes you want to collect. So that's why I would rate a tomato like this, not just because of how it tastes and it's good and everything, but because of the fact that this is a collector type tomato. This is something you want to put in your jars and keep in your basement for years. You could store those seeds for years. And you could decide to grow it 10 years later, and you'd be like, I got the golden Jubilee. And so it's a high rated tomato, guys. I can't go any lower than that. I have to say it's a 1.5. It may have been lower in years past, but this year it's definitely met the demand of all. The flavor, sensation, the texture, everything was just gorgeous on this tomato. It's going with a 1.5. I can't go any less. We're not going with a 1 or even higher than that, but definitely a 1.5. So that's really it, guys. That's my tomato review for the Golden Jubilee tomato. What I'll do is I'll leave the information in the description below. You can read about it, or you can visit my website and read it there. But keep in mind, anytime I do updates to the information on this tomato, I'm going to do it on the website and generally not the video. So if you're looking for information on this tomato and you're doing research on it, you're going to want to visit the website. Don't go by necessarily what you're reading in the description here, because it might be outdated. Alright, and I'll also leave a link in the description below where you can pick up seeds for this tomato. And that's it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.